Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I'm going to do two small things with rocks in this episode. And I am going to then talk about something that I want to investigate. And by the time this episode actually airs, hopefully I've done enough research into seeing how I can actually do it and do subsequent episodes on it. So I've been kind of toying with this idea for the last 2-4 weeks. And the idea itself is fairly simplistic, but as you're going to see, to try to actually do this may seem hard, and it may do a lot of deep dives into things I have no idea about how they work. But we're going to try. And by we, I mean me. So we'll get to that in a moment. The first thing I want to talk about real quick, and I'm not even going to do branches for these because this is very simple. One of them is here in rocks is, well, let's do, well, you know what? Let's just do a whole manage NuGet packages. And let's see if there's any updates, which there are. Not surprisingly, not surprising at all. So let's consolidate. Yeah, we want to consolidate. Let's pick all. You know what? Let's put it. I'm not going to make an issue. I'm just going to make a branch though. So let's do git. Is there anything I got to commit? There shouldn't be. Okay. So let's make a new branch. Update packages. And we're also going to update something else. Memory things, arrays in a moment. So let's select all of them. Say update. Do all the things. I accept. And I believe that's everything. Okay. So it's still going. You still going? You should be. You see it down here where my arrow is. It's still spinning. Did you actually? That's odd. It wasn't really what I expected. Okay, now I guess it just needed to think, go back to the screen. The other thing here, though, is for some reason, this really should be why I have a separate group here. I'm not sure. Okay. So let's just do this again. Say manage packages for a solution. None. Okay, so let's do the clean. Let's run tests, which we'll build, and hopefully run tests. And of course, it takes forever. What's new? Builds. Anything show up in the error list? Nope. That's okay. Once we get there, we'll be fine. Well, it looks like you're executing stuff. All right. So it seems like it's going off and running tests. So that's good. And good. Okay. So that's good. So we got all the packages updated. The other thing I wanted to do is this. So I think in the past episode, the last one, I was going through and putting explicit capacity values for all the list creations. And I started looking this, I think I may have talked about it, initializing the list to a certain size. And I started I went in and started writing a whole bunch of benchmark tests. And comparing like what happens if you do guess, if you don't guess, if you just, actually what I should have done is put in tests here to have like no check. See, this is the high guess. This is even wrong. Okay. That's even bad. That's like the check low guess and check high guess as if you did it one way or the other. So, let's even just say no capacity. Okay. Because I think that's a valid test. It's not going to change what I'm getting in, no capacity. So we're just going to say that. Okay. So what I'm going to actually do is pause for a second, run all these tests again, and get the results. And then, it won't change what I want to get into with this fix, but it was kind of interesting. I went overboard and did a whole bunch of stuff. which I thought was kind of interesting. So I'll be back with the final results. All right, so here are the results. And the thing I thought was interesting is I realized in this case, I don't have to use a list of string. I can just use an array. And so I said, you know, whether it's false or true. If it's true, then it takes the time is just slightly more and you take a little bit more memory. It's because you know you need to add another thing in. And so, a little bit more time, I'm guessing. But all of that is vastly better than the other approaches. What's interesting is if you don't set a capacity, it's generally the worst, except in this case. So if you don't check and you have a low guess, it actually takes the most time and it consumes the most memory. And I'm guessing it's because you don't check and you guess to 2. So you initially create an array of 2. And then you put your 2 in, and then you have to double to 4. Are you saying you have parameters as 3? So you would guess 3, you put a 3 in. I don't know. It's there's no check. What does no check low guess do again? What does that do again? Oh yeah, so you just say 2, and then if you had a true, then that would actually put it in and it would double it to 4. I believe it doubles. I don't think it goes to 8, but in any event, it's the worst out of all of them. So the best is use an array. It's going to take the least amount of memory. So but if you're going to have to use a list for whatever reason, putting in a guess is always going to consume most of the time. It's funny if you don't put a capacity in, that's not as bad, but it's still worse than putting in a capacity. Always put in the capacity if you have a really good inkling for where you're going to end up with the number of elements. But we know here that we can have 2 or 3 and that's it. And if you look at where these lists are being used, they're literally just putting in a string join. So we don't need to do this. What we can say here is say, if has return, we're going to make a new string array, okay, passing in these things, okay. We'll get there. Otherwise, a new string of just these things, okay? And that's it. Of course, I'm going to have to change this in a moment, but yeah, because you can't add anymore. But that's all we need to do. And then we could do the same thing for raises type, which is if we have a return, then we say new string, passing in callback name and return name. Otherwise, we just do new string. Come on. Of callback name. And that is it. We don't need to do anything else. And we're done. We can take rid of that. Now we get rid of this. So that should be faster. Okay. What's interesting is in here, for some reason I couldn't, like if I say this has params, this is okay. I don't have to specify the size. But I thought when I was doing this that it was forcing me to do that. And I guess I don't. Which is okay. But now I'm paranoid. That should say I'm going to make an array with 2 values in it. I'm not just going to make an array and then size them up. I should see no difference. Okay, but I'm going to run it one more time because I got to take a break for the bathroom anyway. So I'm going to run it one more time. The results should be the same, and then I will commit this. So yeah, be back in a minute. Okay, as you can see, it did make a difference. I expected as much. I just wanted to be sure. Run your tests. So I still find it interesting that this is so much worse than this one. But either way, we're just going to use an array. So let me run all the tests again, and just make sure that this doesn't break anything. It really shouldn't, but you know, this is why we have tests and this is why we run tests. So while this is running, since we're talking about tests, I figure I might as well start talking about what it is this I'm getting into. So one thing that I've noticed with unit test frameworks is that they always have these adapters that come along with the ride. You can't just install, for example, an NUnit. You don't just add the NUnit package to your library. You also add this test adapter project. So if let me just make sure that tests are running. And they are. Okay. So if I come over here and I say, let's go look at the proj file, is that you see there's both a NUnit, but there's an NUnit 3 test adapter. Okay. Now it just got updated to 4, so I'm a little curious as to what it's doing. In fact, I wanted to IL spy it because I'm curious to see what it is that it's bringing to the table. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's go to open and say repositories, rocks, source, tests. Why is the target still there? That should have been deleted. I deleted that from the folder, I thought. I'm going to try that again. I swore I deleted that. Okay, so tests, bin, release, 5.0, rocks, tests, and I don't think, that's interesting that they have these. Well, what the heck are these? Let's go into just C#. ADET types? What in the world are ADET types? I just, like, what? Huh? Who? Where? Reasons? Auto-generated program. That's the main. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Anyway, I'm just, because it's a test platform, so it needs a main, and it's going to do some stuff, I guess. So, I don't know. But, no, I don't see what I thought. Okay. Anyway, so the point is that you have this, where is it? Probably what I'm referencing. And so I am referencing the framework. I'm also referencing, well, the test platform is coming along with it's right, it doesn't because of the way it's referenced here. It's referenced, if I come back in here, this way, which basically says don't bring it along as something that you're going to be part of, more or less. Point is, this stuff is there as a test adapter to allow you to take the NUnit stuff and basically get it into here so you see it all here. And if you did it with XUnit, the grouping and the look and feel and everything may be a little slightly different. Okay, but they both end up doing the same thing. And so especially this works with .NET Test and everything else, I believe. The thing I was wondering is, how are these adapters actually discovering and executing the tests? Are they doing it with reflection, and if they are, is this an opportunity for source generators? Can you actually generate the discovery of your tests and the execution of your tests in such a way that you're saving time? You don't have to do this work at runtime. You can do it at compile time. And so that's the next investigation I want to get into. So the problem is finding like a tutorial on how to do this. Oh my God. I'm kind of lost right now as to where do you actually look to see how do you just build a test adapter. And to be clear, I'm not looking to build a test adapter, and I'm going to pick NUnit because that's my favorite. But I'm not looking to build all the features like parameterization and test cases and parallelization or anything like that. I'm like, I just want to find 5 tests in a project and run them one by one. Okay. But what I want to see then is like have the tests do something like pause for 50 milliseconds or something and then return and not have any failures. what I'm mostly looking for is if I can do that, then see and do that in a hard-coded way. Because from the documentation, I believe that you can actually do your stuff in the test project itself. Like you could conceivably write an adapter where you would actually put all the code in there, and then the test, when you run it, would just find those types in your test assembly and go on as normal with getting the list of tests and then what the results are. So if that's true, then why don't I generate all that at compile time with a source generator? So that's the next project I'm going to be working on. And, it might become a complete failure and a disaster. But I really want to try it and see if it can even work. And then if it can work, writing a source generator to make that work. So that's why I looked in ILSpy, because I was curious with the 4.0 version, if for whatever reason it was actually putting that in here. But it doesn't look like it. Like I don't see any types in here that say, this is, there's these weird embedded attribute, like all this stuff. I'm like, what is this stuff? But I don't see anything in here that's lending itself to be something that looked like it was generated by the adapter from NUnit. Okay, so I could be wrong. I don't see anything like in the debug metadata or anything like that, or I don't think it'd be even a metadata, would it? Like where this stuff shows it. Because like if you go into the Rocks integration version here, and I do bin release .f5, the integration tests, I think you should actually see, that's all the integration tests, right? But then here, okay, where, oh, that's interesting. String heap. It did, no. Okay, sorry, I'm a little like, this should be, like, where does it actually put all, wait a minute, did I just see, no, that's a void. Here we go. No, are those it? Yeah, these are, oh yeah, these are it. Method indexers, yeah, this is all the code that I'm generating. It's just splitting it all out like this. So, yeah, okay, cool. That's the file names that have the underscore. Okay, anyway, so yeah, it's embedding it into your assembly, just like I expected. And so I didn't see anything in there in the test one that shows me that they're even trying that idea yet. So it might work, it might not, I have no idea. But I want to give that a whirl, because it's like anytime I see anything where they're talking about, let's use reflection, why not try to see if that could be done as a source generator and keep pushing this source generator idea more and more. So, and to finish this off, one thing I just saw somebody post today, it was from Andrew Locke. He mentioned source generators and Razor in .NET 6, because Razor now will source generate everything. I don't know if it somehow includes your Razor files as additional files or what it's actually doing, but its compiler basically skips like making the C# stuff. I'm not quite sure what it does, but the point is his source generator was reacting to the Razor compile, creating C# stuff. And then his source generator would see that and go, aha, now I can light everything up. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. I guess the Razor compiler is actually a source generator or something like that. So none of his stuff is working anymore in .NET 6. So this lends itself to, well, if other things are going to do this, there's got to be a solution to this. Whether you do now allow a source generator to say, I need this to run, or I am dependent upon this running, or something, because, or the Razor compiler, there's a way to do source generation with the Razor compiler itself, just like the C# compiler. I don't know. So it's fun times. This is kind of a wild area to be in. But that's the next thing I'm going to be working on, is to see if I can actually get this with a simple case to do a test adapter where I actually am writing everything by hand to let .NET Test see the right stuff. And and that it works in a way that I expect. And then if that's true, generate that with a source generator. We'll see how that adventure goes. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.